Morning,
Hi there.
David. Hi.
It's are you well?
Yes, good. You?
We'll keep on going, despite the rigors of life and all those kind of things. Dear viewer, Chris isn't, as you know from last week, some of you may remember, Chris isn't here today. I can't remember what he's doing, whether he's on holiday or on a retreat or what, but he's not around. But, it's good to see Deb back again and, delighted to the two of us can chat, even only for perhaps a short while today, on a
Yeah.
passage from Mark's Gospel, I understand, isn't it?
Yeah. Good. A good passage from Mark's Gospel. Yeah.
Mm. Right. Have you got it ready, or would you like me to read it?
I've got it here if you'd like me to read.
I'll be very good. Should we have a pause?
Let's have a pause. So this reading is from Mark's Gospel, chapter 4, beginning to read at verse 35. On that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great gale arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on a cushion. And they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was dead calm. And he said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?"
It's a lovely story, isn't it, Deb? That one. I've always found that great comfort. For me, it's a story about the great power of God, really,
Yeah,
and perhaps the authority of God. That He can even still the worst moments and times maybe of life, and when we're out of control ourselves, maybe.
yeah, which we often are.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, I like that very human bit in it where, in all the confusion and worry, they get really upset with Jesus and wake him up and say,
Yeah,
"Wow," that sounds very human to me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, I've often thought sometimes that there were other passages on there with Jesus having this kind of debate, or whether disciples come to him or rely upon him. And there's the one particular thing about when he's feeding the 5,000 or whatever, and he says to them, "Well, you feed them." You wonder why he hasn't said, "Well, what are you going to do about it? You've got us out here. You
I
brought me
know,
out here." you know.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
it's a lovely whatever. But why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?
yeah, yeah.
It's a glorious comment. I think I'd be frightened if I was out in a boat and the winds and the waves attacking it, and you were fearful of drowning.
No, I
Yeah,
know. I used to do gig rowing when I lived in Weymouth, and it was very sheltered there. It was very sheltered because it was in the harbour. But when we went out, sometimes when it got really choppy, I didn't even shout out or say, "Where are you?" But I used to feel a little bit nervous because I was a bit nervous, but
yeah,
I think the sea is so strong and so um, so difficult, so unpredictable. Uh, I can imagine, and these were fishermen as well, so it must have been frightening because they were used to being on the water, weren't they?
they were. They
And
were.
yet they the thing I always think in this passage, which I really like, is at the end when they say, "Who is this?" They know Jesus and they've been with him all this time, and yet he still surprises them. And when they see his power, his power to talk to the elements and to calm the outside and also to calm what's happening inside them. They're almost, they just don't know who he is. And I always think that's quite an amazing moment, really.
It is. It is. I mean, when I've read this passage early this week, one of the things that came back to my mind is, yeah, the disciples were fearful and Jesus acted. But how fearful some of these people in small boats crossing the channel and other parts of the world
Mm.
must be, of
Oh,
the
yeah.
power of the wind and the weather and the whatever, and the seas. And I saw a documentary, I think it was on Monday night, about
Mm.
that incident out in Greece
Mm. Yeah.
with the people. And you look at the weather then, and the ships today compared to yesterday, this huge tanker was
Yeah.
within feet of them.
Mm.
And you think, if they started their propellers or engines up, the churning of the water would automatically tip the boat over or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And you cannot help but think of fear. Fear is natural. We know that.
It is natural, yeah. And in that instance, I mean, I know we hear about it all the time, but every time you hear about people losing their lives in that way, it's still so shocking that people will go on those boats, such as their desperation, and how they're so vulnerable. And also, in this passage, and I guess with anyone in that situation or in any situation of fear, what's happening inside you, the churning inside you, the fear, um, it can, well, it can be completely overwhelming. And I think seeing other people, seeing fear in other people can ratchet it up in yourself. But if you see little ones, I mean, in those boats, there's often really tiny little ones, aren't there? And they're completely, um, they're completely helpless in that situation.
Well, helpless and at the mercy of others around them,
Yeah, yeah,
and totally dependent upon others around them. And of course, there are elderly people as well
yeah,
that are in that situation. So yes, I can understand that the wind, the weather, the whole water, sea. It's a mighty powerful beast, isn't it? You
mm,
know,
mm,
and causes lots and lots of concerns. And of course, isn't going to get any better in many ways, I guess, with the present global crisis over over what's happening with the changes in world things with weather and heat
yeah,
and cold and wet,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's so there we are. But yeah, you're quite right. The fact that suddenly, when all this is going on, they're still questioning. Well, who is he that he can do this?
I know, I know.
They've been, we don't know how long at this point in time they've been part of this journey with him, but
Mm,
considerable time we're led to believe that
yeah,
they've been part of this journey with him. Who are you? That you can do this.
yeah,
Surely, I can imagine Jesus, another hand in head moment or head in hand moment when he's saying, for heaven's sake, how many more times have I got to explain this all to you? You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
where have I come from? Who am I? What am I? And what
yeah,
am I here for? And the poor disciples, you know, are filled with great awe. We're told that's a wonderful word, isn't it? Great
yeah,
awe, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
amazement at what he's done. You think by now they'd be quite used to him doing things that are out of normal people's
mm,
inverted commas ability to do or to or to make change to.
yeah. But I guess it's the difference. Sometimes you can believe things in theory, and especially if they don't affect you, you can see them and you can say, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then when you're under threat or when you're fearful and when you are the one who's being churned up inside, you can just go back to that sort of instinctive kind of panic. And it's almost like Jesus is saying, this isn't just for some parts of life, this is for every bit of you.
Yeah.
And you can rely on me, on God, for every part of your life. And you do hear of people, particularly people who've gone through difficult things, who find that still point, don't you?
Mm,
Some people are amazing when they've been through it, and yet they are the calm one. And it's because it's trickled into the whole of their being that they have to trust. That's all they can do. And we've all met people like that. People we
yeah,
visit.
and yeah, I think also it's being able to admit to yourself that at times the only dependent person or being that you've got is God Himself,
Yeah.
and it's not just recognizing that; it's actually putting that faith into action, isn't it? You
Mm.
know, yeah, this is what we believe as Christians. We just got to hang in there with it,
Yeah.
and not lose the trust or the faith or the ability to know that God will care and will look after us. However, at that time it may seem impossible
Mm.
to hold on.
Yeah. And I guess the
Yeah,
storm on the outside is indicative of the storm inside. And
on the inside, yeah,
Jesus was in the
absolutely.
same boat as the disciples, and he
Yep,
was calm. Um, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to do that. And I think we all lose it sometimes. We all get overwhelmed, but there is peace available for us. And I think this story, uh, well, I think it's probably a very well loved one
yep.
because I think everyone can relate to it. Everyone has known times where things have just been too much.
Yeah, I think that's the message, dear viewer, today. That there are times in all of our lives, and the road is not straight, where things are rocky, where we feel like we're in the middle of a storm, whether on a boat or outside of a boat, and we cling in there, we hang on.
Yeah.
But no, please do know that God does love us and will protect us and guide us in whatever way is required, even if we don't see that at that very moment. I've
Yeah.
often reflected that sometimes in my life I realised that at the time when I felt I was being totally not abandoned, because I've never felt abandoned by God, but at times when I felt things have been going tough, that He'd actually been there and I haven't realised it, because the worry, the fear, the concern that I have has just been blocking my understanding and perception, not perception, um, feeling that He's there around me. So, yes, wonderful reading today, Debs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It
wonderful
reminds
reading.
me of this tiny little quote I saw the other day from
Yeah,
Samuel Beckett. And it said, it was two little sentences. And it said, I can't go on, full stop. I'll go on. And I think there isn't any choice. You have to keep going.
yeah,
And sometimes, I guess that was the message to, they thought that they were lost. And
yeah.
Jesus is calm and says, have you got no faith? And they have to go on. And sometimes just knowing that someone is beside you, that you're not on your own, is what makes all the difference.
And all encapsulated in that wonderful saying from Julian of Norwich:
Yeah.
"All will be well, and all will be well."
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not always easy to recognise that when you're in the maelstrom of a storm of your life, is it?
No, and I think that's why we need each other as well, because
Yeah.
sometimes we just need encouragement from our, the people around us. Um, mm,
Yes, we do. We do. Well, dear viewer, I'm sorry if you feel shortchanged today. We've only done probably a 15, 16 minutes or so, but we hope it's quality and not quantity. We know that Bishop Cannon likes quality
yeah,
rather than quantity.
yeah,
So
we're just
there we are.
mixing it up. Yeah.
We'll be in her good books, at least for a day. That's good.
Yeah. All
Debs,
right. Well, I
and
hope
then
you're not too busy today, David. I hope you've got a good day.
I've got Beaminster PCC meeting this afternoon. We've got a lot of stuff just to finalise because of all the the big work starting in a couple of weeks' time for the new kitchen toilet project
Oh,
and drainage. So there's a lot of that because we've discovered that things haven't been done by our. I've got to be careful. Claire Architect may be watching. Things haven't been done as perhaps should have been done already, and so we just got to dot the i's and cross the t's and get on with that.
yeah.
And yeah, so I've got that. What else have I got? Got to go for my weekly visit to the nurse to have my leg dressing changed again. It's getting there slowly
Oh,
but surely.
yeah.
And then what else have I got? Lots of admin to try and do. Our new admin lady, Amanda, in the office, is slowly getting to terms with the vagaries and peculiarities of the Church of England. And if she understands it at the end of it all, she'll know more than we ever do.
Well, yeah, that's what I always bank on.
That's right. And so things like that. Lots of things. A few funerals to start arranging as ever.
Mhm.
But generally,
Yeah,
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 it'll be another day of excitement in ministry.
exactly.
Never two the same, are they?
No, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah.
That's right. So there we are. So Divya, we look forward to seeing you. Any comments on maelstroms or storms in your life or whatever? Please do share them with us. We'd love to know what and how you cope with perhaps some of the difficult times. Would you wake Jesus up if you were in that same position, or would you allow him to sleep? I think I'd have been too frightened to wake him up personally. I've got to be honest, Debbie. That's the cowardly person in me. I'd have said, all right, Jesus, please wake me up." Yeah, there we are.
Oh, well, see you next week. And
You will, Debs. Good to
yeah,
see you. Bye bye
and
now.
you take care. Bye.
Bye.